Wow, what a beautiful theater.
Michael,
Yes.
Clark Ween's here. We met at a couple art house convergence. A year now, we'd like to welcome you to the Circle Cinema in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I might add, in the state of Oklahoma, which is redder than the 49er hat you had on, to say the least. And I think right now, everyone in the audience, let's thank Michael for a great movie.
Well, thank you. And may I just say, we refer to it in the business as the world famous Circle Theater in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Thank you, Michael. You got that message. You wore our hat one year for us. Never, always appreciate it. Thank you so much. Without further ado, Michael, I'm going to introduce you to Barry Friedman, who will be our Q&A moderator tonight. And I'll turn the mic over to him. And again, thank you for coming to Circle Cinema, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We appreciate it.
Okay. So you can hear me. All right. For those on the left, nobody understands and champions Trump supporters better than you, more than you. You said they're not racists or rednecks, people who are hurting. But these are the same people who will accept a Trump administration that does trumpet racism and nativism. Aren't they expected to do more than look just to their lost roofing jobs? Don't we expect more of them, ask more of them?
Yes, but because he wants to be the narcissist in chief, the sort of that is one of the things that makes him appealing to people like that, because it is all about them, and there's a certain me, myself, and I about it, and they don't like the other because the other isn't me or myself or I. And so yes, if they were really Americans, like they wanted to be part of the country with all of us as a community, they would be thinking more than just about themselves. And so it's very hard for me to try and meet them halfway. But we don't have any choice, because this election, it can't go the wrong way next Tuesday. We're in a lot of trouble.
Right. Can you have populism in this country without the racism?
Absolutely. I mean, well, I'm talking to you from the home state of populism. Look at all the good that came out of Oklahoma back in the day, back in the time of FDR. I mean, populism from Oklahoma wasn't a bunch of racist yahoos, right?
Right.
So can that happen again? Absolutely. I was talking to Bill Maher about this. He was telling me how much he loves to play Oklahoma when he does Oklahoma City or Tulsa or whatever, or down in Moore at the university. The great crowds, so many good people. People forget that a place like Oklahoma, like let's say Oklahoma, will oftentimes, the Republican will get 60% of the vote, right? Well, that means 40% of Oklahoma is not that. That's a lot of people. That's not a small group of people. So what we have to do, just like what's happening in Texas, can I say that word, Texas?
Yeah.
Okay. What we have to do
Just say it quickly.
is, I said it and I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just the place I just mentioned. I'll just refer to it as that the way that things are changing, that the election, and many of these polls, it's that close. It's 4 or 5 points separating the two of them. But we knew this would happen sooner or later in that state, because the demographic was changing, because the old way was dying off. And the same thing is true for Oklahoma, that the old way is on the way out, and the new way is on the way in. And so many of the young people in Oklahoma who've gone and educated themselves, have a different viewpoint. And it will be a different state 10 years from now, 20 years from now, definitely. Because the youth are going to change it. The more education, the better. The better you make your schools in Oklahoma, the better. The more you can get kids to go to college, the better. The more people pick up a book and read one, the better. And so I have a lot of optimism in me. Even though at times, I'm sure, because you live there and I don't, you probably don't feel optimistic and you probably feel alone. But you're not alone. Things are changing and they're going to get better.
Okay. I want to open this up to some questions here. They'll scream it out and then I'll repeat it to you. Okay?
Okay, great.
Anybody? Question is, why does Trump rarely have to elaborate on any of his claims?
That started. Sorry, I'm eating some dinner here.
They told me I couldn't eat. What the hell's going on here?
I know, but I've been seriously. This is like I'm doing 5 of these Q&As tonight, all around the country, and I just was on MSNBC, and I've been. Listen, I'm not sleeping for the next week. Okay, so, and really, I'll show you what I'm eating here. A pickle.
Kosher, I hope.
I am in New York tonight, so yes. But can I make Jewish jokes in Oklahoma?
Oh,
Is that
please
okay?
do. Yeah, the three of us
Okay,
will
all
love
right.
it, really.
Okay. The diaspora is everywhere. Geez, now I forgot the question.
The question is, why doesn't Trump have to elaborate his
Oh,
positions?
because the media didn't make him. Right from the beginning, they played his game. I mean, he saw that they would put him on shows, and he didn't have to show up to the show. He could just phone in from bed. He was probably sitting on the toilet half the time, and they were like putting him on network television on the phone. He's a creation of the media here. They know it too. I mean, they've been trying to undo the damage they started, but this is like Dr. Frankenstein, man. Once you create the creature, awfully hard to, if I can mix my metaphors, put him back in the box.
Yeah. Good. Next question. Question is, why did the media allow themselves to be played? Why do they do that?
Ratings, money. Those debates that got 70 to 80 million people tuning in, that never would have happened if it had just been Hillary and Marco Rubio. That just never would have happened. He's been so good for the ratings. They've sold a lot of advertising, and he fit the capitalist business model. That's pure and simple. I think the reason why.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just come from one back there. Yeah. Would a Trump presidency be worse than a George W. Bush presidency?
Is this the Hitler versus Mussolini question?
You want to take a moment? You want to take a moment with your pickle? Go ahead.
No, you're in a row. No, you're in a rowboat, and you have to pick between Hitler and Mussolini. I mean, I just heard Keith Olbermann make the case for why Trump is worse than W. That is saying something.
Yeah.
The difference between the two of them, though, is this, and that's why it's kind of hard to compare apples and I don't know what fruit Bush would be, but
Pickles. Are fruit.
and I think pickle is a vegetable. Tomato is the gender confusion fruit or vegetable. I think that Bush was an ideologue. Trump has no ideology except his love of himself and money. So, what's more dangerous? Somebody who is a true believer in the ideology he supports, or somebody who only believes in himself and to hell with everybody else? So, I guess that's how you make the case that Trump would be worse.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hi, Mr. Moore. I work here at the theater, so I haven't gotten a chance to see this particular film. But the night that Philando Castile died, that was shot by the police officer, and that video went viral, I woke up and I cried because it's just so affecting, and this happens seemingly every week. But a friend of mine showed me on Facebook a clip from your old show, The Awful Truth, the African American Wallet Exchange Program, and I encourage everyone to check out that clip. And it actually made me laugh in the middle of tears, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate that. And
Well,
a lot of the young people here in Oklahoma voted for Bernie and made him the primary candidate winner. And I wanted to ask, is there anything in that sort of performance art sort of fashion or sketch show fashion, any tips you have for us to make something or just to kind of keep that energy going that we seem to have here?
yes. Thank you for mentioning that piece on the Awful Truth by TV show. If you type in African American Wallet Exchange or the Awful Truth, you should be able to find it. I've been dealing with a lot of these issues for a long time, and I try to use humor and satire. Um, as far as Bernie voters, I voted for Bernie. I worked for Bernie. I went and campaigned for Bernie in 1990, the first time he ran, or actually not the first time, but the first time he won his seat in Congress. I went up to Burlington, Vermont. So I've known him for a long time. And I know a lot of Bernie people are upset. A lot of people don't want to vote for Hillary. We lost. We didn't really lose fairly. The DNC misbehaved. Debbie Wasserman Schultz misbehaved. Um, but it's over. We can work to fix the system so that doesn't happen again. But what I say to my fellow Bernie voters is instead of being all angry and upset, man, let's take a bow. I mean, we should be celebrating the fact we won 22 states. Your state, my state, Michigan. Bernie won 22. That's almost half the states. A Democratic Socialist. That is historic. And everybody needs to feel very good about that. Then Hillary, after she won, she adopted 2/3 of the Bernie platform. That never happens, folks. She moved way close to Bernie. She knew she had to do that to get elected, and she did it. And I think, the other thing is that if the Democrats get the Senate, the new chairman of the Senate Budget Committee will be Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, there's a lot to be happy about here. This wasn't all loss, loss, loss here. There's a lot of win.
Next question.
Yeah. And you know what, folks? We're not being asked to vote for Margaret Thatcher here. She's not a bad person. Hillary Clinton.
I think in the back. Gary? Talking about the similarity in anger between the Bernie supporters and the Trump supporters, and I think the question is any way of merging that together. Did I get that right? Were the two movements at all parallel?
In some ways, yes. We both oppose NAFTA and these trade deals. We both think the hedge fund guys on Wall Street should be paying their taxes. But remember, Trump says a lot of these things. He doesn't really believe in them. But it sounds good. He doesn't pay his own taxes. So, there's nothing to be trusted about this guy. But I think the legitimate anger that the working class has, and especially those who are supporting Trump, we feel a lot of that ourselves, and we need to, when this is over, bring them in and say, hey, we haven't forgotten you here, and we don't care that you voted for Trump. We're going to fight for you the same way.
Okay. Someone else? Yeah. The question is that Trump apparently loves the movie, at least up to that point, before you wake up a week later. Have you heard from Hillary about the movie, and when are you going to get the invitation to the Lincoln bedroom?
Exactly. We'll leave that last part till later because I'm a big believer in monogamy, and I give her a lot of credit for wanting to save her marriage and make it work. Nobody ever says that about the two of them. That, you know, I don't know if people were rooting for them to break up or whatever. They found their way. It's none of our business. Their marriage is their marriage, right? I don't want you poking in my life, and I don't want to poke in their life. So,
Have you heard from her about the movie?
I've not heard from anybody in the Clinton campaign. I don't expect to. They can't endorse a movie where I've come out and admitted that she killed Vince Foster. So,
Right.
This,
But the question is that the Trump supporters are saying that part of this is pro-Trump, and they are ending it right before, when you're sitting at the desk, right before you say, this is before you wake up a week or 2 weeks or a month later.
yeah,
What do you think about their spin of this movie in their direction?
I think it's part of the con job that's going on, that they would actually take this anti-Trump movie, this love poem to Hillary Clinton, and try to make it that it's pro-Trump. It's stunning. But I'll tell you what they've done is they've sadly, a lot of people, a lot of right-wingers, a lot of conservatives have gone and bought the movie on iTunes, and they have, I mean by the tens of thousands, they have funded my next film. So I feel bad for them, because once they watch it on TV or on their computer, they realize this is not pro-Trump. And I felt bad one night this week. I went on Megyn Kelly. I went on Fox News and I said, right wingers, stop buying my movie. You're being lied to. I feel like I should give you my money back or something, which I'm not going to do. But
Yes.
some of that beef too, Carl.
Is WikiLeaks a good thing or a bad thing, all things considered?
All things considered, it's a good thing. We know a lot about how the Iraq War, how that happened. So many things, thanks to WikiLeaks. I hope they're not being used by Russia. I think that Julian Assange is a bit of an anarchist, and I think in the same way, perhaps not the same way, but how Trump says he wants to blow up the system, I think that Assange wants to do that too. And he's being forced to live in this embassy now for 4 or 5 years, and probably going a little stir crazy.
Somebody else? Question is, what do you think of the new investigation supposedly into the connection between Russia and Trump?
Yeah, why don't we hear more of that, FBI Director Comey? You know something. Why don't you at least say, well, there's something, but we don't really know what it is, but there's something. So there's some kind of connection here between Trump and Bush, or Trump and Russia, but we aren't going to talk about it till after the election. Okay. Why does he come out and make a statement like that? This is really disgusting what he's done. Yeah. And thrown all this confusion into this. I'm not saying he should ever cover anything up. And I'm not saying if a crime was committed or whatever, he shouldn't go after it. But, man, to just kind of throw it out there and then not answer it, it's just unfair. Unfair.
Well, it looks like we have to go, but one quick question. When the movie was made, the dynamic of the election was different than it is this week right now. What's your prediction?
Wow. I don't want to say.
You
I don't
worried?
want to bump. Yes. Very worried. Very worried. I know that if people could vote at home on their Xbox or their remote control, Hillary would win in a landslide. But it's about getting out the vote next Tuesday. And I think his supporters are rabid. And now the other theater is calling.
We'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, and thank you, Tulsa. I hope to come and see your theater someday. I heard so much about it. Thank you.
Good night.